Hello and welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. I'm Kim. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. Today we are going to have to start harvesting potatoes. Now, I thought it was a bit early to harvest potatoes, and as I went back and looked at when I started my potatoes, I am sitting at about 90 days on quite a few of these. So just a little under and on some of these containers and a little bit over on others. I planted early, mid, and late potatoes. The early potatoes only need anywhere from 70 to 90 days, and the mid-season potatoes need 90 roughly days. And then my late season potatoes are like 100, 110, 120 days. So these particular potatoes are already starting to die back. And I honestly thought they were dying back prematurely. And I was looking at the leaves on here and they look like they have spots and it looks like they're diseased. So either they're ready to be harvested or they have got some kind of disease and we need to get them cleaned out of here before it spreads to the other potatoes. But as I look at all of the potatoes in my garden, and here's a clip of the potatoes that I have left in the garden, you can see that most of them are starting to yellow down low and they're starting to die back. So we are going to go ahead and harvest potatoes from these 5 containers just to see how we're doing underneath the ground, because it's always a surprise. And my girls are going to help me with that task today. So we are going to harvest prairie blush. We're going to harvest a couple sappomeros, and this is supposed to be a mid to late season potato, so I'm really early on these. So we're going to have to see what's going on with those. And I believe that's a German butterball, which also shouldn't be ready at this time. So the prairie blush is definitely ready. And the rest of these, we really just need to see what's going on and make sure that there's not some kind of disease in the garden. So let's just go ahead and jump into this potato harvest. When it's time to harvest potatoes, I like to do a couple things. One, move into the shade. So my girls and I are sitting up under a tree here in the shade to get out of the sun. And I like to move my buckets over to a wheelbarrow. And you see my girls got their little seats all set up here to start going potato diving is what I call it. So one of the first things that I need to do is remove the support right here. And I'm going to pull all of the homes. Well, I'm going to cut my homes. Now, some people could say, hey, you should let these die all the way back. That's an option. Sometimes letting them die all the way back, depending on how wet it is, where you live, the season, the heat, and everything else, if you let them die all the way back, you might wait too long and your tubers start to sprout. So I typically wait a little longer than this, but I'm just concerned because I'm afraid that I got disease here. So we've cut the hones off. Now that I've cut the tops out, again, this is prairie blush. We are going to just pick this up and dump it, and then the girls are going to get started. I'm going to bring you in a lot closer for that step. Okay, let's see how we do. Oh, it's heavy. Hopefully it's heavy with potatoes and not just with wet dirt. Be careful. Be careful with them. Don't scratch the skins. Don't put that down there. Put it in here. We're finished with the first container. Let's get the next container and then I'll show you the overall harvest. I started with, I believe, 3 seed potatoes in each one of these containers. Let's get the homes off of this next one. I'm about to knock my daughter out. Okay, it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4 main areas that are coming up out of the bottom of this pot. Let's see how we did. The soil is super wet, super, super wet. Now, we have a problem because this is not Prairie Blush. This is red Pontiac. So I don't know why this is even in this container. I don't know. So Prairie Blush should be a white potato with little red spots all over it. This is not Prairie Blush. This is red Potomac. Red Pontiac. This is red Pontiac. But let's see what we got. Go ahead, girls. Now this container here is sapelmira, and it is a mid to late season potato. It should not be ready, but it has some horrible black spots on it. I actually only had 2 of the 3 potatoes that I put in here to even sprout up. So let's see what's going on in this pot here, and let's see if we got some potatoes. I'll start doing these. Oh my goodness. Whoa, look at that.
Whoa.
Okay, girls, start putting them in your little buckets. Look at the size of these. Wow, look at that. Now, sapelmira can get a lot bigger than this, but it looks like they were definitely ready to be harvested. I don't see a lot of baby ones in here. You got to move the dirt around to find them. I only had 3 potatoes that actually sprouted, and I've definitely gotten a harvest. I was hoping for the potatoes. Oh, wow, that's a nice size one. I was hoping for a few bigger potatoes, but let's see what the girls get. All right. I believe that's it for this one. Let's go ahead and get this dirt out of here and see if we're going to find any additional potatoes. Okay, go ahead. Right. This is my second container of the sapelmira miras, and there are only 2 of the seed potatoes that sprouted in this container here. And in the last container, I had no little teeny potatoes, so they definitely were ready to harvest. In this particular container, I have potatoes on top. And so hopefully, and I got some baby ones on top too. So they had already started pushing up in this container. And I have, I believe, potatoes that are starting to, if you look at that, that's a eye that's on top of the ground that's trying to make potatoes. So we will see what this pot has to offer. So let me get it poured out. So let's see, do we see any around the edges?
Yeah. That one.
I see some on the back side. Is there any on the front side? No.
I see one right there.
Let's turn it around here. Whoa. There's some on the edges here. There's one on the top that's coming out. So let's break it open and see what we got. Remember, I only had 2 homes that produced anything, so I'm not expecting a lot of potatoes in here. Okay.
Wow. This.
Now this one had some smaller potatoes on it, so it was trying. So hopefully we can get a few on here. I don't know. I tell you, I feel like these potatoes were diseased with those black spots on them. All right, so as I was moving things around in my whole potato area over there, I found a few other potatoes that were completely laid over. And I don't know if it's from the wind damage because I didn't have supports in this teeny little bag, or if they're really done or not. I have 3 hones coming out of this teeny little bag, and this is Purple Viking, and this is one of my grow bags with a pocket. So I've never seen potatoes in the pocket, but let's take a look. Nothing, nothing in the pocket. But hopefully there's something down inside. It's only got one pocket. And I don't even feel potatoes on the outside of this bag at all. So this may be a dud. It may not have anything in it, but let's flip it over and let's see. This is Purple Viking. And I don't remember if Purple Viking was early, mid, or late. I would have to go double check. But I'm afraid that it was, now this dirt is much drier than the other containers. But I'm afraid that it got the wind damage and it just didn't recover is what I'm afraid of. But let's see. I see a few in there. Get them, girls.
Wow.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Beautiful. They're purple.
So Purple Vikings, and I have the seed potatoes here, are a purple pinkish kind of streaked potato. So this is what a Purple Viking looks like. It has deep purple with pink spots throughout it. But let's see if we have any at all in here. I tell you, this one does not look happy at all. I believe the wind damage, and I'm not even seeing a lot of baby potatoes either. So it was definitely done doing all it planned on doing this year. I don't see any little baby potatoes. So it was in the process. Okay, there's one teeny little potato. That was it. So it was done doing all it was going to do. And I think we said there were what, 2 hones in this one. I'll be lucky if I have 2 potatoes in this one. All right, so my back has given out on me. We're going to let the girls take care of everything from this point. So they're going to start dumping them and putting them in here, and I'll fast forward through it. These are all Yukon Go potatoes. I have 3 containers. I went ahead and grabbed all of the Yukon Go because Yukon Go only needs 70 days. And since it only needs 70 days, and I know it's been in the ground a lot longer than 70 days, I went ahead and grabbed all of my Yukon Go. And this right here is like wilted and slimy. So I don't know if it wasn't getting airflow, too much water, what, but the Yukon Go's needed to go. So this one's a little heavy, so let me pour it out for the girls. This is a Yukon Go right here. It looks very similar to a prairie blush. I don't know, Yukon Go's are starting to get a lot of pink little areas on them. Same thing happened last year as well, but it is a Yukon Go. 70 days to harvest. This is the first major potato harvest. We had a small harvest early on in the season from the indoor growing space, but all of these were started outdoors back in late March, and this is our first harvest. So some varieties did better than others, but let me bring you in close so you can see how each and every one of the varieties did. So this variety right here is called Sharpelmira, and this is the variety that's out of Europe that can get you some pretty big, huge, whopping potatoes, good for chipping and baking, but mine are kind of small. Now, I didn't have many little bitty potatoes in there, so I mean, it was pretty much done doing all that it was going to do. I do believe that my plants were diseased, but this is how many potatoes I had in each container. This container has some really nice sized ones, and this one had all small potatoes in it, but we'll eat them all just the same. These 2 containers were supposed to be 100% prairie blush, which is a cross strain of a Yukon Gold and something else, but I don't remember what. Prairie Blush are white potatoes with pink splotches all over it. So that's Prairie Blush with pink splotches. And in this container here, I was trying to grow Prairie Blush, but somehow or another I got one of my red Pontiacs mixed in there. And so this one had big lunkers for the red Pontiac and teeny little Prairie Blush. I only had like I believe three seed potatoes in here. And this is the harvest for Prairie Blush. This little container here was my Purple Viking. I only got like 3 potatoes out of here. It's a much smaller container, but I believe it just couldn't get any air. The soil was super, super dry, so I believe the water was wicking. I don't believe it was getting watered very well, but hey, we'll eat it just the same. And across the back here are my Yukon Golds. Now, Yukon Gold is definitely an early potato. And in this container here, I have some potatoes that have split wide open, but they'll scab over. Looks like they've scabbed over already, so they're still good to be eaten. But there's quite a few in here that were completely split open, and I have left them in too long. But you can't really see it, but the potatoes are a little deeper in this container here. But I think it's a decent sized harvest in these two. This one, not so great. Don't know why. This one had a lot of little potatoes. I believe it could have gone another couple of weeks and those smaller potatoes would have done better. But in these two containers, there were very few small potatoes in there. So I think they were happy with where they were and decided to call it quits. So what do you think about my first potato harvest of the year? I didn't weigh anything. I'm not really big on weighing, trying to see the value of the weight or not. As long as I got out more than I put in, I call that a win. Most of these had at most 4 potatoes in the container, and each and every one of these, I got more than 4 potatoes out. Some of these containers only had 2 potatoes in it, and so I call this a win. Either way, I'm not weighing. I know some people do. I'm not weighing the potatoes. This is the harvest. I just want to basically be thankful for the blessing that I've been given versus thinking about it glass half empty. This is glass full, not half full, more than I started with. I do have a few more potato harvest videos that I'll be doing this year, and we are going to replant all of these pots. Now that I've harvested all of these containers, and there are what, 8 containers here, it is still early enough in the season to get another harvest for a early to mid-season potato, and I have seed potatoes left. So if I can get these containers replanted, now I got to refresh the soil and I got to get some nutrition into the soil of these containers, and hopefully there's no disease in the soil. But if I can get more potatoes in, I can get a second round of harvest in my short season. Today is June 24th, and I have easily a good 90 days left in my season. July, August, September. So I definitely have 90 days left in my season where I can get an early to mid-season potato harvest, as long as it doesn't get too hot. Potatoes don't really like it too hot. So we will try it. At the end of the day, I haven't lost anything. The seed potatoes are only good for this year. They're going to, shrivel up and die on me. So they're only going to be good for now anyway. So let's try to get 8 more containers of potatoes. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. There's more to come. Thank you, and until next time, bye.